First the death, now the war. Thank you to our final patrons Strawbone, Dreadle4765, Midnight Gemlord, Sean, and Artgoon. And a very big thank you to our $25 patron, Alex Rose Ice. Now, before I'm this breakdown / discussion on how me, that guy with a pencil, would put Lancelot in the dirt, please leave your own ways that you'd put Lancelot in the dirt in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also make sure you hit that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. You can support for as low as $1 like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, let's hop into the discussion. What's up, guys? I'm the Pencil here, and here we are to talk about how I would put Lancelot, the mightiest of the 4 knights of the apocalypse, in his grave. And notably, it seems like I'm not the only one who's thinking about doing this, because a lot of y'all really want Lance to get up out of here. And I can see exactly where y'all are coming from. Lancelot, despite not being a character who's really associated with death, ironically enough, like, I guess if you want to make like a contingent connection, his mom wasn't alive, and then she got revived. So then Lancelot has like a general amorphous connection to the concept of death, like maybe, but realistically I think a lot of us are really banking on that from the idea that well, at least here's how I'm thinking. I can't speak for y'all, but I'm thinking of it because how ironic would it be that the son of the immortal man is the only one who dies? Like, I don't know, I think that would be like such a wild contrast to Bond the undead, Bond the immortal, and Elaine the resurrected. Like, the only two people, well, not really, Meliodas and Elizabeth are also two people who consistently came back from death in one way or another, but still, the two people of the modern era who, relatively modern era, Elaine is like 700 years old, but still, of the relatively modern era, who cheated death in more ways than one, sometimes in countless ways, look at Bond, would have their only son fall to what they always escaped. I think that would be neat. But the question is how to do it, right? How to do it and why to do it. Why? I think it would just be like undeniably tragic. I think it's also kind of low-key been hinted at when Guinevere mentioned that she has her final goodbye with Lance at 23 and then Lance is gone. So it's highly possible that Lance may just end up disappearing one day, you know, permanently, one way or another. Maybe he's in the capital of the dead, bada bing, bada boom. So I think that's why. It's just gotta happen. And once again, notably, the characters who are promoted the strongest at the beginning of the series, or quite powerful, typically end up dead by the end. Or anyone who's hyped up typically ends up dead. Like, think about Escanor, the most hyped and powerful character of Seven Deadly Sins to the point where he transcends the verse. Guess what happened to him? He got a gravestone. So I think it's entirely possible that Lance, the guy who's been portrayed as the war, as the mightiest, would end up falling at the end, because it's just like a full circle story. You started off strong, but you end in the ground. And I think it would kind of fit, because once the war with Camelot is over, the war has no purpose and thus ends up disappearing into the land of death. So the question is, how would I do it? How would I take out Lancelot? Very different from Percival. I don't think Lance should be like a self-sacrifice. I think Lance kind of has to go out like a G. Like Escanor half went out like a G, half went out like a good man. But no, I think if anything, Lancelot, after all the coolness he's built up, after all the clout he's gotten, after everything that he's done, I think he just needs to go out like an absolute top dog, insane in the membrane kind of guy. That's what I feel like when it comes to Lancelot, because it just feels appropriate for a character of his stature, a character of his ilk, someone who's been so hyped up, someone who's been this way, and notably, unlike Escanor, really doesn't necessarily have a weak or a soft side. Like, he just doesn't have one. At least with Escanor, his ending makes perfect sense for him because, you know, he was a soft guy at heart. It was the grace that ended up manipulating his mentality and stuff like that. Meanwhile, Lancelot, as far as we know, he may have absorbed the Lady of the Lake or something like that. But Lance, as far as we know, is Lance. That's just him. He is literally just him. The only time we've ever seen the character falter is with people he deeply cares about, like Jericho. But even then, he was pretty him with Jericho until she, you know, revealed the case, and Guinevere when she put him in a case. And honestly, those are the only two characters that we've seen weakness of. But even then, that's not any physical weakness, it's just emotional weakness. So I think if Lancelot, if any character was just to go out like a top G, or if any character was, it would have to be Lancelot. The Knight of War, the mightiest, the person who guided the 4 knights. I think he has to go out with a bang. And here's how I would do it. Particularly in the final battle against, whether it be Arthur, whether it be Chaos itself, whether it be any other sort of antagonist that magically appears by the end. If Lance is there, I want him to sort of do a binding vow. So some way where he can use the very limits of his magic to go all out. In a very similar way to the one ultimate. Part of me is very, very mixed on Gawain using the one ultimate, because I think it would be a little bit redundant. I know it makes perfect sense. She literally has it. She has the grace that would allow her to do that, so it makes sense why that would be her ultimate form. But at the same time, I would kind of want to spice it up a bit, and I think Gawain could be used as a red herring for Lancelot doing something like this. Like Lance says, I'm going to use the entirety of my lifespan right here, right now, to defeat you, Arthur. And then Lance, who knows, by the time we get to this final battle, he may have fallen behind in the narrative. Maybe Tristan has gotten his games up. Maybe Percival has, like, shot through the roof. Maybe Gawain has gotten some new crazy amps and new magic and stuff like that, and her limiters removed. So Lance, despite being extremely powerful right now, may have fallen behind. And this could be a way that he finally goes out and, like, once again, as top G, as the strongest knight, and comes in and sacrifices everything. And notably, Lance should have at least a somewhat extended lifespan. Going off Gerharde, she lived for the 3,000 year period just fine. So Lance, if we just divide it in half, even though Gerharde doesn't seem like she's going to be going anywhere anytime soon, if we just divide it in half and say he has 1,500 years worth of life, imagine he sacrifices it all at 23. He loads up all that energy and then uses it all at once, his whole potential. Kind of very similar to a character in the Dragon Ball Super manga where they ended up having their power or all their potential unleashed at once. Lance is doing that now to combat Arthur. And then they have this amazing final battle. It goes crazy, it goes stupid, it goes dumb. Lance has his spirit spear, all the knights are engaging alongside him, he's leading the battle, he is the war, guiding the war against the King of Chaos. And then as he's going, he's realizing that he's burning through more and more of his stamina, more and more of his life energy. And then he uses one last attack. I would assume it would be a fusion between Shining Road and whatever weapon he gets. Like, legitimately, it would either be, like, Shining Spear, Road to Dawn, or, like, some crazy attack where he, in one last push to make Arthur vulnerable for whatever they plan to do with him, whether it be executing him to free Chaos, whether it be sealing Chaos away, whether it be just incapacitating Arthur for good, Lance unleashes this final attack, this final burst of energy that takes up everything, and the power of the fairy-human hybrid is born in that one attack, and the rest of the knights follow up alongside him. And then they win. They've beaten Arthur. The war is over. All the people are now saved. Chaos is either atomized, doesn't exist, freed, or taken away, or something of the sort. And then all the knights are like, yes, we did it, we did it, we did it. Oh man. Man, I'm sorry. Lance, that thing you did was amazing. And then they turn, and they see Lance in that same position that we've seen him every time before when he uses Shining Road, standing there. I'm not sure about the age thing, like maybe aging, but then again, Escanor didn't even age when he burned away all of his life force. So hypothetically, you could just have Lance stood there, locked in place, all of his muscles tight and rigid as he unleashed every last bit of his power. But you can tell he's drained. He's not turned to stone, because once again, I kind of want to avoid that trope in general. I don't know why I say the trope. The main reason I always think about that is because I just think of Final Explosion Vegeta. He was turned to stone or turned to dust, and he kind of left a statue behind. But hypothetically, if you want to do that in honor of Lance, he stands there, weapon at hand, solid, standing there, having fallen to death, but fallen to death standing, being the top G to the very end, saving the world, saving his friends, saving the people, and giving the people he loves freedom from a mad king, but at the sacrifice of his own life. He still goes out like a top G. He still has this amazing, cool final battle where he gets to use the upper limits of his powers, gets to use his spirit spear in all the cool, interesting ways that he could, and gets to be really, really cool in the end. But it still ends up with his death, because the war is over, so the war is no longer needed. And he goes out. Obviously, you could definitely have a proper funeral for him. Maybe he doesn't turn to stone and you just have him with like rigor mortis or something, so they have to like carry him to a funeral. I think a statue would kind of work because then they could just put him up there for eternity. But if you didn't want to do that, you could definitely just have them give him a proper funeral, have all the characters grieve, have everyone talk about how much Lance meant to them, and have Gwen crying or whatever, if you really want to throw that in there. All that, I think, would be a beautiful way to send Lance out. Giving him everything he deserves as, like, the top-tier character, the guy from the very top that's always been about that life. He himself, Timothy Herner, if you will, being that dude. And then, in reality, he goes out in the most warish way possible, in a big, explosive final battle that determined the fate of creation itself. I think that would be cool. I think that'd be a great way to send Lance off because it kind of culminates everything that he's been so far. And admittedly, once again, we aren't very far into the narrative. Lance could become an entirely different character by the very end. Like, legitimately, I had no idea where Nakaba is going to take Lance's character if he wants to take Lance's character anywhere. However, just based on the portrayal we've gotten of Lance so far, his straight-laced nature, his abilities, his strength, the exaggerated swagger of a half-human, half-fairy teen, I think overall it would work very, very well to send him out in this big, final, explosive, bombastic way that would be remembered forever as an amazing thing. And it would be cool to have him slap it up Arthur again. Because, you know, he already slapped up Arthur before. Have him slap up Arthur for real this time. But this time using all the power that he has. So I think it'd be appropriate, you know? I think it'd be nice. But that's how I would do it. That's how I would get rid of Lancelot. How would you get rid of Lancelot? How would you take him out? How would you send him to the capital of the dead? Please let me know that and more in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do a Patreon down below. You support as low as $1 down month. Exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month and get the same perks and more. Thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.